Good morning, Granada. My name is Diani, and today's scripture comes from Psalm 139. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before the word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go to heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is a light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your words are wonderful. I know that full well. My friend was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be.
Thank you for that. That was such a great reading of that passage. And my hope for you today, it's too much paper, is that psalm just sticks with you for just as long as we can have it. It's such a beautiful psalm for us to open up and look at today. And so in all that we do here, I just want us to make sure we come back to that over and over again. Because if it's not something that maybe you've been in church for a long time, you know, you're very familiar with it. It's something that we use a lot, we refer to quite often. But if it's new to you, just see what a beautiful thing that God shares with us here. And thank you to the worship team, really just laid such a beautiful foundation through song of this concept we're talking about today is the presence of God, the omnipresence of God, that He is everywhere. My name is Jeff Sullivan. I'm one of the pastors here, and it's an honor to be able to take this psalm and share it with you in hopes that it'll be something that you can carry with you throughout this week. And we've been going through an entire series on the attributes of God and what His attributes that call us to worship Him. And today we're talking about His omnipresence, that God is everywhere. Now, in order to really kind of get into this, I want to begin with laying a foundation of it, and then we're going to get into this psalm to see how it applies to our lives. And to lay that foundation, I'm going to reference some very old material, the Westminster Confession of Faith. And this is a document that's been around since 1640s, and it's something that our faith is grounded on. And it's really a great thing that we as a church can look back centuries and centuries before us and know that men and women have studied things and explored concepts and had meetings with their entire purpose was to lay understanding of truth and what does the Bible say. And then they formulate them in a very concise way for us to be able to start from there and build forward. And so they worked on a definition of God. Now, it's really hard to do that, right? If I was to ask you, who is God or what is God, that would be a difficult thing to answer because we all kind of know, but it's really hard to kind of describe him in a certain way that is all-encompassing or makes a lot of sense. But that's what they did. In the Westminster Confession of Faith, it's 2.1 is the reference. I do hope later that you'll kind of reference it, kind of save it, and read it again, because there's a lot of words in here that I'm about to read, and I'm going to highlight a couple. But there's a lot of depth in this, too much that we could explore in one shot. But it describes God like this: there is only one living and true God, infinite in being and perfection, who is most pure spirit, invisible and without the limitations of human body, parts, or passions, who is immutable, immense, eternal, incomprehensible, omnipotent, most wise, holy, free, and absolute, working all things for his glory. In this definition, there's so many great statements that help us understand the attributes of God. But today we're talking about his omnipresence. And for his omnipresence, we can really highlight a couple of these words. One is immense. Immense is speaking of just how great and huge and expansive God is, that he's able to cover all things. And then that he's not bound by the same limitations of humans. Because when we think about being present everywhere, it's difficult for us to comprehend that. Because we exist in a single place. You're either here or you're there. You're not both. We know that we can only in our bodies be in one place at one time. And so to think of God being present everywhere at one time is often kind of like a mind blow, just to think, wait, how is that possible? How can he actually be everywhere? And the way that we could understand that is that a creator who creates something exists beyond that creation. So as God is the creator of all things in this universe, that means he is beyond it. And so if you were to take that into some of the illustrations he uses in his word, he talks about he is the potter and we are the clay. So when someone is forming something out of clay, they exist outside of that clay, and they have an idea of what it is. They helped create the clay, they formed it, and they have an idea of what they're going to make out of it. There's a vision of how they're forming it and how they're working it. But that creator is not a piece of that clay. It's beyond it. If you were to look at an artist who is creating, he's painting something and he's making that. He exists beyond that painting, and he might be painting something that looks like himself or looks like something that he's envisioned, but he is outside of that painting, using materials that he understands and knows to create something from a beginning to an end, and he exists beyond that. The Bible also references God as a gardener, someone who makes a vineyard, someone who takes a piece of land and sees it for what it is and its destruction and uselessness, and then comes with seed and with water and with life and with care and with work, and then creates something that bears fruit. That gardener exists outside of what he created, yet he is understanding what it is, he is involved in what it is, and he is instrumental in all of it. And so God being everywhere is because he is the creator of all things, and so he is the one who exists beyond it. Now this is different from a concept in which sometimes can be confused of these two ideas, is that not that God is everywhere, but that God is everything. The idea of God is everything might be something you have seen in different movies like Star Wars or Avatar or Pocahontas, where the idea is that God's particles and his energy exist in all things that belong to this creation, and that they all together are a piece of God and they make up a God, and that when these things die, they return to be part of God. And that idea is a pantheism. It's an idea that's very prevalent now in spiritualism and Hinduism as it kind of integrates. And so if there's a difference of God is everywhere and God is everything. Because God being everywhere sets him apart from that as the creator who is beyond what he has created. He is not part of what he has created. He is beyond it, greater than it, and in control of it. A God is everywhere, everything mindset is that, well, we're all a piece of this thing that's God, and one day that energy forms back to it. If this is a debate that you've been in, if this is maybe a philosophy that you're still on the fence about, whether this is God is everywhere or God is everything, then I would love for you to see me after a message, and we could do, kind of like a discussion in a small setting. Because those types of discussions take a lot of time, and they take a lot of exploration of questions and what ifs. Not what we have time for here today. And so from this point, what I'm going to do is just make an assumption that we can agree on this, that God is the creator and that he is everywhere. See, the Bible often makes the assumption that it doesn't need to prove that God exists, because the Bible is his word. So just like I don't need to convince you that I'm actually here, because I'm here, I see you, you see me, I'm talking, you hear. So I don't need to make a statement that, hey, let me prove to you that I'm really real and I'm really here. So God, often there's not a place where he's trying to make a case for his existence, because he knows he exists, and he knows that he's evident in all things. And so this foundation lays the ground for us. Because in Psalm 139, as David the psalmist looks at the concept of God being everywhere, he doesn't look at it as a philosophical or theological premise. It's personal. Throughout this psalm, it's you and me and I and you. There's this interaction of personality. And so I want to transition from the idea of God being everywhere as a philosophical idea, and now I want to move to what it means to me and you. In doing that, I would love it if you could take out your own Bible for Psalm 139. I know we had a great reading of it there, and we're going to read it again piece by piece. But what I would really love at the end of this is that you have this psalm ready for you. Now, if you use an app for a Bible, that's okay. Put it, mark it, copy, paste as you go through, use it. If you bring a physical Bible, you're a special Christian above the rest of us, and I appreciate that. So pull that out and get your pen and your things there. If you say, oh, I don't have either, but I want a Bible I can hold, grab the one out of the pew. That's totally okay. You can write in it, you could keep it, and we'll replenish later. That's not an issue. We don't mind giving Bibles away here. We're a church, okay? So take those, but I do want you to physically read them yourself. I don't want you just to hear my words. I want you to physically see them, and then I want you to know tomorrow you can grab that same spot and read that same verse. This is Psalm 139, and today I'm going to break it into 3 parts, 3 affirmations from God in this psalm that we can stand and know because he is present everywhere. Verses 1 through 4, you know me. God is everywhere. He knows you. Verse 1, it says, you searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit, you know when I rise. You perceive my thoughts afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You're familiar with all my ways, all my habits, all my nuisances. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely. God knows you. Now, the idea of God knowing you individually is huge. Think about it. In the last 10,000 years, there have been over 100 billion people on earth. You're one of 100 billion. And God knows you. He knows you by name. People knowing your name is a big deal, right? How many of you have a difficult name to spell? How many of you have a difficult name to remember? Well, that can all be like, who knows, right? I'm really bad at names, and that's something I feel terrible about who I am as a person because of that. I will have a conversation, ask a name, and then a minute later be like, what was their name? It's horrible. But when someone does remember your name, that's a great thing, right? I know when we would do our membership class, many times people would reference Jane or Annette and say, I came to church, and the next time I came, she knew my name. And they were impressed by that they were actually a person and that you knew what their name was. When someone who is important or someone you meet that's famous or powerful to you, if they come and they were to say your name, you're like, how do they know me? How do they know my name? Or if you were to get a book signed by someone and they write your name in it, now you keep it Now you see, this is important. Why? Because this is someone I value, and they know my name. Names are important to us. Now, sometimes when people don't get our name, that's also important to us. I thought that I had a very common name, Jeff, until I went to a Cuban bakery. And that's a very difficult name to say, I found out. That it could be an odd name, because not all names are easy to everyone, especially different cultures. As we see here and hear a name, we're like, what was that again? And that happens a lot. In fact, Starbucks is famous for how well they do with names on cups, right? There's like a whole thing. Half the internet's dedicated to it. You can see all kinds of, these are the better ones for us, like Brian with a Y. Yeah, that makes sense. That's totally Brian with a Y. And it's not easy to know your name or to spell it. Jessica seems like a common name to people. Spelled a little differently, but it could be Jazaka. That is Jessica. So who's to say that's wrong, right? We can spell our names however we want. But when someone knows your name and gets it right, that's important to you. The world record holder for learning names is a Pakistani woman named Emma Alam. And she recalled 218 faces and names at the Memory Championship of 2020. I did not attend the Memory Championship, but that's impressive. In a short time, she could just, 218, that might be everyone here, that she would just meet us once and then come back through and know all of your names after that conference. That's crazy. She did win a ton of memory stuff every year after that. But I bring all those things up to highlight the aspect that out of 10 billion people, 100 billion people in this world over 10,000 years, God knows your name. You see, that definitely helps us realize that God does not have the human limitations that we ascribe to him. He can be everywhere, and he can know everyone. Now, the verses that follow, 5 through 12, you are with me. If God is everywhere, then he is with me. In these verses, it says, you hem me behind and before. So you're on both sides. I love how it says, you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where could I go from your spirit? Where could I flee from your presence? If I go to the heavens, you are there, the highest places. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there, the lowest places. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. He has that physical contact. Your hand guides me. Your hand holds me fast. There's not a place that you could go or be that God isn't present enough with you that he can reach you. There's a concept called the ministry of presence. And that is where you're simply there, and that's enough to do. This is a concept they teach us as we train in chaplain school. And right now, I know we're praying for James Drake, who's deployed in the Middle East right now. One of our pastors is down at Christ Church. And his job is to be there for those soldiers whenever they need it. I know we've got Avelio in Alabama completing his Air Force chaplain school. And his job is to be there, to go through the trainings they go to experience what they're experiencing, so that he could be present with them in the time that it's important. You see, as a chaplain, you get big experiences like leading a chapel or counseling or taking care of a memorial. But most of the time, the work is just be there. With my soldiers, the past weekend when I was there, if you guys know, I go about once a month for my Army thing. And most of what I get to do in that time with them is make Cuban coffee for them every morning. A ministry of presence. To them, it's like the communion that I provide. They love it. They're just like, Chaplain, this is amazing. And then when the mission is done and it's time to celebrate, you get on the grill and you make the burgers, because Granada taught me how to run a grill. It's part of pastoral training when you work here. Seminary. It's just the ministry of presence. Just be where people are and do what they do. And we see that happen all throughout, whether it's Phil Benny, who goes and visits hospitals and sits with people there. Or whether it's the times that you've sat in the office or on a couch with David McLeod and just talk about your life, and he's just present with you to be there. Or how Worth and Gabby sit with families as they are grieving, and they're walking them through those times. They're there for them. You see, in none of those situations, from chaplaincy to pastoral, do we actually solve or heal or raise the dead or anything. We're just present. And you do this all the time. Your presence here today matters. The fact that you are here impacted everyone around and everyone who will say hello and pass by you. It will mean something to them that you worshiped with them. If you're in a group, every time you show up to that group, your presence matters in that space. They hear from you, they see you. You make a difference in their life at that moment. Or maybe it's the person that you called. Maybe your parents, your mom, your grandmother. You just made that phone call and you became present with them. Or that friend that somehow God threw them in your brain and you don't even know why, and you make that call or you go visit. Just that moment of presence becomes a ministry that changes things. Even if you're not an expert, even if you didn't bring something that solved their life or their situation, you were there and that mattered. And same here as he describes God's presence in his life. David, the psalmist, went through many things, and they weren't all erased or taken care of or moved away, but he knew God was still with him in all of that. And that mattered to him, that his hand was there guiding him through the highs and the lows. God being present means that he is present with you. You are not alone in that hospital room or in that waiting room. You are not alone at home if your house is empty and you feel like you are. God is present with you. Third section of these verses, 13 through 16, it says, God, you are pleased with me. This might be the hardest part for us to accept. Because, you might say, yes, I know God is everywhere and that God is present. But then can we make that step to say that God is pleased with me? Look at what these verses say. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully is mean reverence, respect, honor. God chose to create you. It was a reverent moment. It was a wonderful thing that he did to create you. You are exactly what God intended. It was with purpose and with desire that God made you. And you are made wonderfully. You're exactly who God wants you to be. It says he knew you before you even existed. So before you knew your personality, God knew who you were. Before your mom knew you, God knew you. It says, and he purposefully created you as you. It says, my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days were ordained before one of them came to be. God's presence was with you before you even knew you had presence. He's before you and he will be there for the end of you. There is no time that you will be separated from God. And for us to make that leap to, yes, I know, God, you are everywhere, and I know that you are with me, to make the leap to say, and I know, God, you are pleased with me, can be difficult. But that's exactly what Jesus is doing. That is what he is doing by removing our sin at the cross and giving you his grace and his kindness. You see, this concept of being loved when we are known is hard. You think about it from our human experience, who's the person who knows you best? Well, when you look back, it's probably your parents, right? They were there from day one. And you might be able to look into your parents. Maybe it's mom that was always there. Maybe it's your dad that you really felt this connection to. Or maybe it was both. But you feel like they knew you. They knew your mistakes. They knew your personality. They watched you grow up. And now you're just like, man, they know me and they love me. I can always rely on mom or dad, or I'm so close. Some of the experience might not be like that. Like, man, they knew me, but I don't think they were pleased. I felt like I was always struggling to do enough. I felt like I never lived up. I felt like it wasn't good enough, that I always had something else to prove, and that I can't make them happy just started to churn inside of you. And when that's there, that's so hard to look and say, I know God is pleased with me. Maybe it wasn't that parent experience. Maybe it was when you stepped into marriage. What is marriage? Marriage is two become one flesh. We notice from Genesis, when Adam and Eve were married, they were in the garden. It says they were naked and not ashamed. They were vulnerable. They knew each other. They were there from day one, and they knew everything about each other. So often our expectation is in marriage is that person's going to get to know me. They're going to know everything about you. All the good, the bad, the day in, the day out, the stuff you can't hide, dating anymore, it's going to come out eventually, and they're going to know who you are. For some, that becomes a beautiful thing. It's a trial of grace and forgiveness and growth, and they come out at some point later in life saying, that's my best friend. That's the person I go to. That's the one who's always there. That's my companion. That's the one that I know is my safe place. For others, that same relationship, as it grows and you begin to be exposed and you know each other, then it just seems like a fight, a contention, a separation, an isolation, a struggle. Will this work? And do they love me? Now they know me. And you begin to churn inside about that. Because you desperately want to be known for who you are and still loved. And that's a heavy weight to place on another person. So God steps in here. In Psalm 139, says, you search me and you know me. You know my thoughts. You know my words. You know where I go. You know my habits. And you think I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's the rest and peace that Jesus is bringing to us. That's the rest and the peace that we are all searching for. When we say God is with me, it's not just that I know he exists everywhere because he's so big and he's so strong. It's God is with me because he loves you. He created you. And he had built you for a relationship with him. So I encourage you. This psalm is for you this week. Every time you slip into that anxiousness, or you slip into that performance mode that I've got to do enough for God to accept me, that I need to work harder so he'll believe in me, that I need to earn what he's done for me. Or you've got that mask that says, I've got to hide everything that's wrong because if anyone knows me, they'll reject me. Whenever those things come up in your life, go Psalm 139. You know me. You are with me, and you are pleased with me. Let's pray. God, thank you for your word, how it cuts deep into our soul. We have all these ideas we want We want love to be transactional. We want it to be, I earn it and I'm good enough. But you constantly show us that you've already given us your love. Before we were born, before we even knew we wanted love, you were giving it. God, help us to turn to you in this rest. Help us to see that life is difficult. Our minds, our hearts, our relationships can pull us away from this. But God, I pray that your Spirit would move in us to bring us to this peace and rest in you. What Jesus has already accomplished, I pray we would live in it today. In Jesus' name, amen.